This video is about cell differentiation. Oh, since biochemical function is determined largely by specific enzymes, proteins, different sets of genes must be turned on and off in the various cell types. This is how cells differentiate. So basically, we have the same DNA throughout our cells, but differentiating the cells to make them completely different is determined by their chemistry. So we can actually differentiate our bodies by injecting ourselves with different chemistries. So it causes a mutation essentially. We mutate with chemistry. We do not necessarily have to change the DNA. However, at some point, as it says here, um, different sets of genes must be turned on and off in the various cell types. So, like, the genes are there, but something is blocking them. How that works, it seems as though that doesn't work truly. If you're going to turn it off, basically you have to change it out for a different gene, essentially. So that would honestly mean that the different cell types in our body would have different genes. That's what it sounds like. Unless um, unless the chemistry is capable of leaving the DNA intact and actually turning it on or off, but yet the same DNA is there, but the proteins and the enzymes and the RNAs and the lipids and the carbohydrates and whatever the hell else actually is going to change the functioning of the DNA. So that's the question is, do all of our cells actually have the same DNA whenever they are differentiated to different cell types? That's the question. Well, apparently here, systematically, this page is saying that basically chemistry governs the on or off position of DNA, and how this works, I'm not totally sure. But then you go down here. What makes cells different from one another? Cells divide all the time. That means that just one cell fertilized is able to become trillions of cells that make up your body just by dividing. Differentiation means that one cell performs a different function than another cell depending on where it is in your body. So maybe depending on what chemistry the cell gets, causes it to have the same DNA, but yet not the building blocks that cause it to be the same as the original cell or any other cell. Maybe that's it. So why do cells have the same DNA but different functions? Almost all of the cells in your body share the same DNA as was found in that first cell. For the cell to work, thousands of these proteins must be made doing each a particular job. Eyes and lungs are so different because different sets of proteins are made in those various eye and lung cells. Okay, so something basically had to start the differentiation process. And if you go all the way back up here, they're saying you have to turn on and off genes. So basically, um, either it comes down to lack of or the inhibition, the cause, the inheritance of different chemistries that make up different functioning cells that may pertain or may not pertain to the turning off or on of genes, yet still having the same DNA, or really they're lying and our different cells really don't have the same DNA. So it's one or the other. So this is what cell differentiation and cell types, cell differentiation and cell types actually has to do with. So you have to show all of the chemistry that shows that the DNA is the same for different cell types. And I'm sure that's possible to do right now with a thing called a very complex procedure called X-ray diffraction crystallography of an entire cell, which would take quite a while to do. I mean, you have to grind a surface of a crystal that diffracts X-rays into a detector, and you have to grind it an atom thick on one end every time you take an image of an external surface of an electron pattern that detects the entire volume of the cell over a grid of like a scintillator or a camera. So that's one way to actually show that all of the cell parts are intact to the point of complete accuracy. And I'm not sure that's ever been done, but I came up with the idea that you would grind the crystal in X-ray diffraction crystallography. You may use a laser or some kind of heat or some kind of acid or different kinds of crystal material that are organic. It just depends on what you're going to do there. But that's basically it. So this is all about cell differentiation, cell types, and measuring DNA.